Right friends, welcome back to 6th week. This is from 8th February to 14th February. Let us look at the highlights. Visit of Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi to India, and not much came out of his visit. Jawaharlal Nehru University Students Union President arrested on sedition charges, and it created a lot of controversy. We are going to see what is meant by sedition and what are the provisions of Indian Constitution as well as the provisions under Indian Penal Code. National framework for malaria elimination launched, and the goal of the government is to eliminate malaria by 2030. And TRAI rules in favor of net neutrality, a major setback for free basics of Facebook. Intellectual property ranking, India stands at 37 out of 38 countries. India's position is 37th, and it indicates that a lot more needs to be done in case of patent protection, intellectual property and all these things. Supply of 8 F-16 jets to Pakistan by United States of America. India expressed its protest by calling US Ambassador Richard Verma. Tripura, probably it may become sunrise state of the northeast, and recent developments point towards this. INS Vikramaditya sailed to Colombo and Malé, and it indicates India's ambition to make its mark in Indian Ocean region. Then detection of gravitational waves, you can say it is a cosmic revolution. We are going to discuss what is meant by gravitational wave. First and the foremost is the visit of Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi to India. Abu Dhabi is one of the Emirates of United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates is the conglomerate of 7 Emirates, you can say. And with this backdrop, we would like to analyze the situation with regard to UAE and India. If you look at UAE, in United Arab Emirates, around 26 lakh Indians are there in UAE, and UAE population is around 9 million or 90 lakhs. Out of 90 lakh population, 26 lakh are from India, and India's foreign remittances from UAE to India accounts for $13 billion, and please don't forget, total foreign remittances abroad to India sent to their brothers, sisters, mothers in India are around $70 billion. Out of $70 billion, $13 billion is accounted for by United Arab Emirates, and Abu Dhabi is the largest and the most populous is Dubai. Several Indians have got business interests in Dubai, all of you are well aware, and oil reserves are the 7th largest in the world. And some more information about UAE, it consists of 7 Emirates. I have already told you, established in December 1971. Most of the wealth is due to oil reserves, and Dubai became the financial center, and Abu Dhabi is the capital. Islam is the religion, Arabic is the official language, and it is towards the southeastern part of Arabian Peninsula. Please look into this. This is Arabian Peninsula, and this is stretching towards the Persian Gulf. And if you look at the landmarks of this country, this has got the tallest building in the world. Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world, and it has got the sovereign wealth funds of around $800 billion, one of the largest in the world, probably the second largest in the world. You may ask, what is a sovereign wealth fund? Sovereign wealth fund is rich countries which have surplus budget. We are always into deficit budget, but if you look at some countries, they have surplus budget. The surplus money will be diverted in the form of sovereign wealth funds, and these sovereign wealth funds will invest across various projects around the world, and United Arab Emirates has got around $800 billion as sovereign wealth funds. And if you look at some more information, this Gulf region as a whole has got 70 lakh Indians, and please don't forget, most of them are from Kerala. As I have already told you, UAE accounts for total 26 lakh Indians, and Gulf region accounts for around 70 lakh Indians, and Gulf region as a whole takes care of India's 60% of energy needs, right. And our Prime Minister visited UAE in August 2015, and at that time it was decided that the partnership will be elevated to comprehensive strategic partnership. And if you look at trade relations between UAE and India, if you look at mercantile goods exports and imports, UAE India stands at third position after USA and China, and our trade with UAE is $59 billion, and both the countries, when our Prime Minister visited UAE, it was decided that the trade will be increased by 60% in 5 years, and at the same time when our Prime Minister visited UAE, it was decided to set up $75 billion India UAE Infrastructure Investment Fund. And with this backdrop, let us look at the visit of Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi to India. In total, 9 agreements or MOUs were signed, which include cyber security, infrastructure, renewable energy, finance and currency swap. No big ticket announcements, especially with regard to investments, were made by the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, and as per the news reports, they expressed their concerns about complex tax policies in our country, at the same time cumbersome processes in doing business in our country, and finally both the countries agreed to enhance cooperation in strengthening maritime security in the Gulf and Indian Ocean regions, right. And at the same time, please don't forget, the Crown Prince also visited Mumbai and visited Bombay Stock Exchange in Mumbai. And critical appraisal, if you look at it critically, India is a big opportunity for infrastructure sector, and as I have already told you, UAE has got $800 billion in sovereign wealth funds. It is their biggest opportunity to invest in India, but whatever the reason, no big ticket investment was announced and no concrete proposal with regard to infrastructure investments in our country came out. And as per the news reports, they expressed their concern about the business climate in our country, especially tax disputes and cumbersome processes of doing business in our country. And this is the first thing which emanates from the visit of the Crown Prince. Second important point is, it was decided when our Prime Minister visited UAE that trade will be increased by 60% in 5 years. But no concrete proposal came out till date how to increase the trade. Then third important point is, when our Prime Minister visited UAE, it was decided to start a $75 billion India UAE Infrastructure Investment Fund. But what happened to it? No concrete proposal came out of it. So it appears that nothing fruitful came out of this visit, right? So if you look at the next important event of the week, Jawaharlal Nehru University Students Union President Kanhaiya Kumar arrested on sedition charges, and there was a protest march and anti-India slogans with regard to the commemoration of Afzal Guru. You may ask, who is Afzal Guru? Afzal Guru is convicted in 2001 Parliament attack case and subsequently hanged on 9th February 2013. To commemorate 9th February, some protest march was held in Jawaharlal Nehru University, the prestigious university of the country, and while the commemoration was going on, there were some anti-India slogans, and subsequently Jawaharlal Nehru Students Union President Kanhaiya Kumar, and please don't forget, Kanhaiya Kumar belongs to All India Students Federation, that is the student wing of political party CPI, and we are going to discuss what exactly is meant by sedition. Sedition is basically conduct or a speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state. If I make a speech to revolt against government of India, if I make a speech to revolt against government of India, that is a sedition. That means it should lead to inciting the people to rebel against the authority. And you may ask, what is this 124A? This is one section of Indian Penal Code 1860. Indian Penal Code was brought in 1860, and this sedition article, or you can say section 124A, was added in 1870. Basically, at that time we were under British rule. India was ruled as a colony by British, and under colonial rule, definitely some people will raise against the state authority, and to clamp it with iron hand, this sedition law was brought in the year 1870 by the British rulers so as to silence the protesters in India. Right? This was the background of this sedition rule. And Supreme Court, how it inferred with regard to sedition. Let us look at the events, how Supreme Court inferred. In Kedarnath versus State of Bihar in 1962, the Supreme Court categorically stated persons can be charged with sedition only if there is incitement to violence. If I make a speech which may result in violence, if I am asking people to rebel against the Indian Union, then that will be sedition. That is categorically stated by the Supreme Court in 1962 in Kedarnath versus State of Bihar. And if you look at the Maneka Gandhi case of 1978, then also Supreme Court categorically said that criticizing the government policies and decisions with a reasonable limit that does not incite people to rebel is consistent with the freedom of speech. So, these two are the inferences of Supreme Court, and at the same time, please don't forget, Constitution of our country gave fundamental rights, and as per Article 19(1)(a), the fundamental right is with regard to freedom of speech and expression, but simultaneously under Article 19(2), several restrictions were also imposed by the Constitution framers, and at the same time the First Amendment also imposed certain conditions for freedom of speech and expression. So, you can say, if you look at it in broader perspective, the freedom of speech and expression is not unconditional. That means freedom of speech and expression is conditional in our country, subject to certain restrictions. And at the same time, if you look at the provisions of Indian Penal Code 1860, there are several sections which make freedom of speech a limited entity, because words spoken, written that promotes disharmony among various groups will land you in jail for 3 years. At the same time, if you are making obscene publications, then that can put you in jail for 2 years. Then if you are deliberately outraging the religious feelings, then you can be put in jail for 3 years. Like that, there are certain sections under Indian Penal Code 1860 under which the freedom of speech and expression is made much more conditional. So, in a nutshell, the Constitution under Article 19(2) itself imposed certain conditions. Second point is, First Amendment to the Constitution also put certain conditions on the freedom of speech and expression, and if you look at them in association with certain sections of Indian Penal Code 1860 like 153A, 292, 295A, 298, then in the overall perspective, freedom of speech and expression is not unconditional. So, this is the final point, and if you come back to this case, whether Kanhaiya Kumar can be charged against sedition or not, people are inferring in different ways, but overall the message here is, please think rationally. Sedition is when inciting people to rebel against the state. When my speech is inciting people to rebel against the state, or if it is leading to incitement of violence, then only one can be charged under sedition. So, please think rationally, and courts are there to decide this issue. The country is totally divided, but put your rational viewpoint behind it, whether the charges against Kanhaiya Kumar will come under sedition or not. Go by rational thinking, don't take sides, right? So, let us hope some conclusion in this case through our judiciary as far as sedition is concerned. If you look at the other events, the national framework for malaria elimination launched. Government has set the target of eliminating malaria by 2030, and in this context, I would like to tell you, India accounts for 70% of malaria cases and 69% of malaria deaths if you take South Asia and Southeast Asia countries as a whole. And at the same time, the country will be divided into 3 categories as per malaria prevalence, that is low, moderate and endemic states. And by the end of 2016, all the states are expected to include the malaria elimination in their broader health policies, and by the end of 2017, all the states are expected to bring down the annual parasite incidence to less than 1 per 1000 population, right? There are no malaria deaths in Sri Lanka during the past 10 years, and let us hope India to eliminate malaria as early as possible. Net neutrality, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India ruled in favor of net neutrality. There was a lot of debate during the past several months with regard to differential pricing and net neutrality. Differential pricing is the pricing where certain internet services will be given free of cost and certain internet services will be charged. The supporters of differential pricing, especially Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, says that differential pricing is only differentiation but not discrimination. And in his opinion, it benefits the customers in a country like India, where majority of the population are without access to internet. And in his viewpoint, it improves internet penetration in the country. So, the proponents of differential pricing says differential pricing is beneficial for countries like India, but finally, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has voted for net neutrality, and the proponents of net neutrality says that it may force some of the websites and applications out of business if differential pricing is allowed. And if differential pricing is allowed, the proponents of net neutrality says that it is not possible to regulate or monitor, and at the same time it kills innovation and it defeats the main purpose of internet, that is non-discrimination and freedom of choice. So, I have given for differential pricing and the viewpoint of net neutrality, these 2 things I have given, but finally the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has voted for net neutrality, and all the other points given by Telecom Regulatory Authority of India I have listed out here, that barred service providers from offering discriminatory tariffs, and no telecom service provider can discriminate on the basis of platform, application, website and source. That means no discrimination. Internet should be free and open, and Troy further stated that the prohibition is necessary to keep the internet non-discriminatory. So, for the time being, it is a goodbye to free basics, and Airtel cannot introduce Airtel Zero. So, no question of discriminatory tariffs. It will be only open and non-discriminatory, and rightly, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has voted for open internet, right? And there are 2 grey areas I have listed out here. The regulation extends to public internet only. It will not apply to closed electronic communication networks. So, what is meant by closed electronic communication networks? Take the example of Reliance Industries, and they can have their own intranet among its employees. That means companies can have their own intranets and these regulations will not be applicable for these intranets, and no one should take advantage of this exemption. That's why I listed out it as grey area. Second important point is emergency services like natural disasters can be offered at lower tariffs for compelling social needs. So, no one should exploit the things by taking these two things as grey areas, for which Troy should be extra cautious. Look into the next one, intellectual property ranking released by United States Chamber of Commerce. Rankings were released. United States of America stood at first place, followed by UK, Germany. United States of America scored 28.6 and India scored abysmally low score of 7, and India stood at 37th out of 38 countries. Only Venezuela is behind. So, what is this intellectual property? Intellectual property is basically the patent protection. You have invented something, no one should copy it. In our country, piracy is the main problem. That's why we have scored much less as far as intellectual property is concerned. So, the ultimate aim of the country is to have proper intellectual property laws. Right? Let us hope government to do something in this regard. So, in intellectual property index released by United States of America, India stood at 37th out of 38 countries, and 1 to 3 has gone to USA, UK and Germany, and only Venezuela is behind India. Look at the events around the world. The supply of 8 F-16s to Pakistan by United States of America, and all of you are well aware, recently David Coleman Headley, Pakistani American, confessed that there are links between various terror groups like Lashkar-e-Toiba and Pakistan ISI. This was stated by Pakistani American terrorist, and under these circumstances, sale of 8 F-16s, these are fighter jets, by United States of America to Pakistan is not understood. And what America says? America says that they are basically required by Pakistan for their counter-terrorism operations. USA says they are required by Pakistan for their counter-terrorism operations. But India expressed its strong concern, and India feels that it will threaten peace in South Asia as a whole. And at the same time, India also feels that Pakistan is suspected to be increasing its nuclear arsenal also. And India called USA's Ambassador Richard Verma and expressed a strong protest. Look into the next one, across the states. Probably Tripura may become sunrise state of the northeast. I would like to put forth the reasons. First and the foremost is government plans to construct Agartala-Akhaura rail link. This Agartala-Akhaura rail link, please look into this picture. This is hardly 15 kilometers. Akhaura is the railway station in Bangladesh, and for this 15 kilometers rail length, India will construct the railway line entirely funded by India, and once this rail line is completed, the distance between Kolkata to Agartala will be around 350 to 400 kilometers. At present, the connectivity from Kolkata to Agartala via Siliguri is around 1500 kilometers via Chicken's Neck, that is 1500 kilometers. This will come down to around 400 kilometers, and Kolkata will become very nearer to Agartala once this rail link comes through. and India is going to fund this 1000 crore project. India already released more than 500 crores of rupees. Then second important point I would like to put forth, 227 kilometer Badarpur to Agartala broad gauge line is nearing completion. Once this railway line is completed, Agartala will be connected to cities like Delhi, Kolkata directly. So it will come to the main connectivity routes of Indian Railways once this Badarpur to Agartala broad gauge railway line comes into operation. And third and the most important point is this Badarpur to Agartala railway line is proposed to be extended to Sabroom. Sabroom is the last town in Tripura, and subsequently Bangladesh will come. And after constructing a bridge over river Feni, recently Bangladesh accepted for construction of bridge over river Feni. So once this bridge on Feni is constructed, then directly Tripura will have direct connectivity to Chittagong port. From Tripura to Chittagong port, this is Sabroom is the border town of Tripura. From Sabroom to Chittagong port will be less than 100 kilometers. So that way Tripura will have better access to Chittagong port. Once it gets access to Chittagong port, then automatically economic development will take place. So one is the Badarpur to Agartala railway line, Agartala Akhaura rail link, Agartala to Sabroom rail link, and from Sabroom to Chittagong with the bridge over river Feni. Then the landscape of Tripura may change within next 5 to 10 years once all these projects are completed, and Chittagong port will have access to Tripura. So after 5 to 10 years, probably Tripura may be the rising star of Northeast. Most important is detection of gravitational waves. What is meant by gravitational wave? The universe is not static. Universe is dynamic. It has got 4 dimensions. Please don't forget. The 3 dimensions, all of you are well aware: length, breadth, depth. 3 dimensions, all of us are well aware. The 4th dimension is time. So because of various activities in the universe, because continuously black holes collision will take place, continuously stars will burn out, and because of these actions, what will happen? This ripples will be formed in the space. That means gravitational waves are nothing but ripples in the space that are produced when black holes collide and stars explode. This explosion of stars, this collision of black holes is always taking place in the universe, and because of it, what will happen? Ripples will be caused in the space. These ripples are nothing but gravitational waves. And what happened recently? These gravitational waves were detected for the first time in the world. This detection of gravitational waves for the first time can be termed as cosmic revolution. And please don't forget, gravitational waves were first proposed 100 years ago by Albert Einstein as part of theory of relativity, and at that time he thought it may not be easy to measure these waves, but now it made a reality after 100 years, because these waves were measured with the effort of scientists from 15 countries. And what was measured on that day? That is 2 black holes. One is 36 times the mass of Sun, and the other black hole 29 times the mass of Sun. They were collided. They were around 1.3 billion light years away from Earth. They got collided, and subsequently one black hole was formed with 62 times mass of the Sun. The 2 black holes before collision were 36 times and 29 times, which makes 65 times. But final black hole was 62 times the mass of Sun. What happened to the 3 times the mass of the sun. This 3 times the mass of the sun transformed into gravitational waves. That energy was transformed into gravitational waves which were felt on the ground in United States of America, and these were measured by the experiment called LIGO experiment. And please don't forget what is meant by LIGO. LIGO is Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. This LIGO experiment was conducted in 2 states of United States of America, that is Louisiana and Washington, 3000 kilometers apart. That means, in a nutshell, what I want to tell you is 2 black holes collided in the universe to form one big black hole, and it created ripples in the universe which are known as gravitational waves, and for the first time they were measured. That is all about this cosmic revolution. For the first time, the theory proposed by Albert Einstein 101 years ago precisely was measured now. That is all about this gravitational waves. If you want more, please listen to news analysis. Right friends, look at the last event, INS Vikramaditya to Maldives. INS Vikramaditya is the largest naval ship serving as aircraft carrier, and we have 2 aircraft carriers. One is INS Vikramaditya, the second one is INS Virat. INS Virat is going to be retired shortly, and subsequently it is going to be converted into a museum at Visakhapatnam. Now INS Vikramaditya has gone to Colombo port and Malé port. What is the need of sending this to the ports in Indian Ocean? Because India wants to shape favorable maritime environment in Indian Ocean region, and basically to counter the Chinese footprint in the entire Indian Ocean region, this INS Vikramaditya was sent, and along with it destroyer INS Mysore and tanker INS Deepak were also sent. And if you look at the details of these aircraft carriers, and I have given the details, so please go through them. India has got 2 aircraft carriers, as I have already told you, and America has got 11 carriers, each of which can carry 80 to 90 fighters. If you look at India, our aircraft carrier can carry 24 MiG-29 supersonic fighters, whereas America's aircraft carrier can carry 80 to 90 fighters, and China has got 1 aircraft carrier, and 3 more are likely in few years. So now the pride of India, that is INS Vikramaditya, is at Malé port call, basically to shape a favorable maritime environment in Indian Ocean region. Right friends, with this let us conclude the main events of this week, and please to join for news analysis. We are going to discuss about gravitational waves, or you can say cosmic revolution. Right friends, have a nice day. Thank you.